Parshiyot and also a little more about Sefirat Haomer. So Sefirat Haomer, which we're counting now, had to do with that on the night of the 16th, when we celebrate the second Seder, they would cut this Omer. And it's written about in the Torah, and the Torah speaks about it as a positive commandment. It says that when we come to the land and we begin to cut the harvest, we should bring the Omer, which is of the first cutting. It's the first grain of the barley, which came in this month, in Nisan, last month, that we did Pesach. And they would all gather together, and they would bring the barley, they would prepare it. And on that night, when they would bring that, they would start counting the 7 weeks, 7 days every week, which is 49 days. That on the 50th day, we don't count it, God counts it. It's a count from God that we've finally reached the 50th portal. It's reaching a higher spiritual portal. And that's the 50th day is when we actually celebrate Shavuot, which commemorates the receiving of the Torah on Mount Sinai. And so when they left Egypt, they were leaving that lower level and they were counting to purify themselves. And as we discussed, every week represents one of the spiritual and physical emotions that we have, starting from chesed, kindness. So once kindness is our main motivation in life, what spurs us to action and to do things that usually kindness also includes what we like. So it's like sort of kind upon us, we love it. And then once we start doing something, we need to learn the boundaries in whatever we're doing. And it's like a learning process. And that's the next emotion. The second we call justice. The third we said is mercy. It's the balancing of the two. And that's like a more progressive level inside of being a human being. The fourth is victory, which pushes us on even in the face of the challenges. And the fifth is also it's called hod, which is splendor, which is also like more in the sense of standing up in face of those challenges. And then there's the connection, and then there's the actual deed, which we really, really put it all together, where sometimes after the whole preparation period, we get to putting it all together. So now moving on to this week's parasha. So we have two parashiyot. The first one is Acharei Mot, which also discusses the mitzvot of Yom Kippur. A lot of the things we learn by Yom Kippur are in the first of this week's two parshiyot. So Yom Kippur, in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, it was mainly performed basically all by the high priest, the Kohen Gadol. And he really had to start learning already a week before, because there were so many things he was doing. So already the week before, he started living in a special room in the Beit HaMikdash, and he was purifying himself every day for 7 days, getting ready for Yom Kippur, because he's representing all of Israel. So, and in front of Hashem. So besides him, there was also a substitute like Kohen Gadol, just in case, God forbid, anything happened. And they would also sprinkle him with the special waters on the 3rd and 7th day. And they taught him all the different sacrifices he was going to do, and all the different services he was going to do. So it also discusses how he did like the entry into the Holy of Holies, that he usually only did that day of the year. That's the holiest place, where it's like where the curtain was in front of it. And inside of there was the Aron, it's called the chest, like which had the luchot, the tablets, and a Torah there, which was written by Moshe, obviously, and the tablets which were given by God. And he burned the incense offering and prayed for the nation in there, as in a sense in front of Hashem. And then we move on. There's many more mitzvot. I'm just going through it briefly. In Parsha Kedoshim, Kedoshim is the second Parsha, and Kedoshim means you should be holy. So all of the people were there when Moses went through this Parsha of you should be holy, because that's the idea that everyone should be there. We're meant to be a holy nation, and a nation that uplifts ourselves. So that's why everyone was there. Usually the way Moses taught, when he would receive the Torah from God, Moses was with Hashem learning the Torah. Moshe would come down, and obviously Joshua, his student, was always with him because he was a servant. So really Joshua was obviously that's why Joshua became the leader after Moshe, because Joshua was closest to Moshe. It says Moses was like the face of the sun, and Joshua was like the face of the moon. But besides that, it says that when Moses would come down, he would call his brother Aaron and teach him first. And he really taught him on a high level. And he would teach him all the things he learned with Hashem. Aaron would stay and move to Moses' left, which is so then Aaron's sons came, and Moses taught them on the next level. And then they sat on the other side of Moshe, and the elders of the assembly were summoned. Moses repeated for the elders in the same way, well, a little different in a sense than Aaron and Aaron's sons. But then all of the people that would come in to learn would also come. And that was the fourth time Moses would say this teaching. So this is something that teaches us that we should really learn something many times to really understand something and grasp it to the deepest level. Once Moses had taught it 4 times what he had received from Hashem, he would leave and Aaron would teach it. He had heard already from Moses 4 times in a sense, and then he would teach it. Well, that was his 4th time, right? Because he heard it from Moses. Well, that was really his 4th time, truly. Then he would teach it, and that would be the nation's 2nd time. Then Aaron's sons would teach it, and then they would leave, and then the elders. And so that way, the nation would hear it 4 times, once from Moses, once from Aaron, once from his sons, and then once from the elders. Back to Kedoshim, it speaks about a lot of different Torah laws. One of the main famous laws that is in this parasha is V'havta l'reacha kamocha. Love your fellow like yourself, which is the idea of this mitzvah. Is it's obviously many explain it in different ways, but one of the main ideas is that just like we usually care about ourselves and love ourselves, we should try to value our fellow being like that and try to, as much as we can, consider their feelings and take care of them as much as we can. So another concept of this mitzvah is, this is really the whole Torah. Like if you've heard the story of Hillel and Shammai and the convert that came, and the convert came to Shammai first and said, teach me the whole Torah at the time I could be standing on 1 foot, which is obviously a very short time. And Shammai thought he wasn't serious and said, get out of here, I'm not interested. The convert came to Hillel, and Hillel saw in him that he was sincere, and he said, the whole Torah is what you wouldn't be done to you, don't do it to your friend, which is this mitzvah. Like just like you care about yourself, try to care about the other, right? The rest of the Torah is really a commentary on this. How is the rest of the Torah commentary on this mitzvah? Which means that just like this mitzvah is lifting our soul above the body to have consideration of another soul, and that's a spiritual level and attainment, so to the rest of the Torah is really about spiritually uplifting ourselves. So Kedoshim to you, like we said, you shall be holy. We try to reach higher levels in our life always, and try to obviously stay away from the things that we should try to stay away from. The idea is also, though, that we live in a physical world. We need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to be in physical. The best life we can have usually is a balanced life where we have a healthy relationship with things. And that's the idea of Kedoshim, being holy and being healthy in our life. Thank you very much, everyone. It was wonderful sitting. I know it's short, but it's always a pleasure. Thank you very much, and have a great night.